Welcome once again to Forged at the Table. My name is Charles, and I am your Dungeon Master. And these five fine and wonderful moderators are from over at D&D Beyond. And this is episode 2 of A Walk Beyond. Something stirs. So before we get going and before we go around the horn, got a couple quick announcements for everybody. There will not be an episode of The Long Road tonight. Unfortunately, the player that plays Belton, the halfling embroiled in a love tryst with the gnome Regina, will not be able to make tonight's game. Normally, I would play on without him, but I do not want to deprive him of the excitement of falling in love all over again. So we're going to scrap that for tonight. That will be back next week. Tomorrow at 5:30 p.m. Eastern is a special episode and the return of Adventure Weekly, where we are adding 2 brand new players to the very unstable cast of that show. We're going to try to stabilize that for you. And other than that, there are no more to go for right now. So let's go ahead, send it around the horn. Starting with Subsys Cyber, tell the people who you are and who you're playing and a little bit about your character.
I am Subsys Cyber. I am probably everybody's favorite D&D Beyond moderator. I'm playing Larathan Talamari. He's a swashbuckler looking forward to retiring from adventuring, but first he has to make his way down to Western Athos.
Alrighty, our Singapore friend, Source.
Hello, I'm Source. I am even more popular than Subs when it comes to D&D Beyond, but not as popular as the rest because I hide in the shadows and approve or reject all the homebrew. But today I will be playing Ostrin Thorngage. He is the holy man of the group, even though he's just a wee little halfling lad. But otherwise, other than occasionally getting mad and calling on the power of the thunderstorms that he can summon, he's normally cool, calm, and collected.
And she certainly does not need any introduction, but we'll do it anyways. Firehawk 2324.
I am Firehawk. I'm in charge of managing Source, but I'm taking today off, so I apologize for any trouble he causes. I am playing Yorla, the young tiefling sorcerer, and I no speak common.
Storm Knight.
Hey everybody, Storm Knight here. In terms of D&D Beyond, I'm the moderator that writes up those really boring rules pages that we try to get people to stick to. I'm playing Uthal Fort Smasher Steelborn, a Goliath paladin. Tends to be fairly forthright and likes things to go his way.
And certainly, last but not least, Villain Theory.
Hey guys, I'm Villain Theory, moderator of Debatable Popularity. I'm playing Keldor Valamir, Monk Ranger, probably the oldest one of the group. He's just returned to find some new strange tieflings and all sorts of chaos.
Alrighty, before we get going, let me go ahead and give a quick shout out to my Rove69 for the follow while we were off stream, to Pat Adams for the follow, to Nerdlepedia for the host and the follow, and for the follow, thank you, Devin Rue. Appreciate all the follows. I will catch up with all the follows, subscriptions, anything else that happens while we're playing at the first break, then again at the end of the stream. So if I do not catch it right when you do it, please don't think that I am ignoring you. I'm just kind of wrapped up in trying to get these guys to kill themselves. So without any further delays and ado, whence last we saw the brave and legendary company of Solemn, they were sitting in the Dragon Isles, having just had a meeting with 2 individuals, one being that of a Shag's Longtooth, who brought forth an offering for their not-so-palatial estate, known as Fort Revel. And then another messenger, the foppish, overly dandied Gipley, a gnome sent as a representative of one Lord Chevalgo. He is the head of the Three Winds Trading Company and a man of power. We last left with the focus around the table where sits Yorla, Larathin, Ostrin, and Uthal. Kalidor had just slipped away to go find out if there was anything worth seeing where Shag's Longtooth slipped back into the shadows away by the bushes. Kalidor, roll me a perception check, please.
Okay. Could be worse. Let's see. Perception. That is a 15.
That is good enough. As you kind of get over to where you saw Shags disappear into the manicured brush on the border edge of your guys' once sprawling palatial estate, you see slight wisps of that shadow that kind of pulled him back in and also released the embrace around him when he first met his appearance. And as you kind of look around back there, you begin to notice little bits of where it kind of looks like on the brick wall, the cobblestone and mortar wall that was back behind there where he came from. Little wisps and fingerlings of those shadows kind of beginning to pull back into the wall itself. As you kind of glance over it, you notice that some of the stones kind of look a little bit shimmery, not quite like moisture, but a definite shimmer, like too much glitter being placed onto a makeup face. And for just a brief second, the vision kind of as you were moving over here, and when you kind of look back and you saw Gipley, it kind of reminds you of his over powdered makeup face. But then something on the stone itself kind of catches your eyes and pulls your focus in as you see a very lightly outlined kind of a smoke gray rune that kind of appears and it slowly begins to fade away, kind of halting at just that point between like almost being gone and still visible. And you notice that the rune itself kind of seems to hover maybe a fraction of an inch above this kind of shimmering stonework. Go ahead, if you wish, to roll me an Arcana to see if you can decipher what it is.
That is going to go well. Let's see. 13.
30?
No, 1-3.
Oh, 1-3. I was like 30. Holy cow. Okay, 13. You can definitely pick up on the fact that it's definitely magical, and your senses kind of lock in, and you kind of begin to kind of go through your mind, kind of haphazardly trying to figure out what it is. You've seen it, or you think you've seen it before somewhere, but you're having a really hard time putting your finger on it. You do know that it's magical. And the fact that it is most definitely involved with somebody like Shag's Longtooth, it does put a bit of worry maybe coursing through you that there may be something else up and going. The other four of you still remain seated around the table. Ostrin Thorngage had gotten his revelation from his augury spell, and the rest of you are kind of still sitting there. Gipley has escorted himself out quite quickly, and your butler, Artis Gamel, is still kind of sitting there, and he's slowly, everything that Artis Gamel does is in a very precise, slow, calculated way, and this large Furbolg once again lifts up his foot and begins to slowly kind of with the tip of his shoe try to wipe away any remnant of this Gipley character. And you can still see that look of kind of disdain, distaste on his face as he kind of slowly looks over and gives a quick glance over his shoulder kind of back the way that Gipley went. And just about that same time, you hear the front door close kind of hard, and you can only imagine this small, overly powdered, foppish, as I said, almost basically a 2 Silver Street harlot kind of gnome, kind of with his head down, maybe huffing and puffing, making his way off through the crowd. You notice Also, the clouds that were there when the augury spell kind of went off and kind of gathered overhead, all of those have left, except there still seems to be like one that kind of is moving from the east towards the west. This particular cloud kind of catches you a little bit off. Nothing normally, the way the stream works is it usually works west to the east, and this one seems to be going back away from it. But then again, Ostrin has caused other things in the past history and that sort of thing. So the four of you remain sitting around the table. Calidor, you are still over by the wall trying to figure out what this rune may be, and that's where we open the tale. The five of you have been made offers from two different groups. One is Chevalgo and the Three Winds for the estate. The other is Shags Longtooth, acting as a representative of Melowin Gimp, who you know to be a local thief, prince, assassin lord, many other names. The floor is yours.
Can I head back toward the group?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Uthel's going to reach out to the table where we've got that message that we'd received from the remnant, or maybe remnants or old members of the company. Kind of spin it around and take another look at it for a few moments. We should make a decision whether we're doing this before we decide who we sell to.
I don't mind one last little venture. And it's in Western Athos. I've never been there.
Most of you have grown up and spent most of your adventuring lives on the Dragon Isles and points to the west. Maybe one or two of you have ventured towards Atheln, but Atheln is a good 4 to 6 month sea voyage to the closest ports in Atheln. So it's definitely it's kind of an exotic land. It's to most of the people in the Dragon Isles, especially northern Atheln, is viewed upon as being filled with barbarians and uncouth individuals and that sort of thing.
Well, what do we know about this Baron Altian?
Altian, you don't really know anything much at all. The name is definitely in the annals, but it's that bloodline separated off probably 300 years ago during the time of trials, the time of troubles, when Nelt left Solemn's side. There was actually a splitting of the company.
Well, I say we go. It's got to beat sitting around here looking at what gold we've got left, right? There's a chance to maybe make a new name for ourselves. Maybe do something good.
I go with you.
Turn
Yes,
around and look down at Ostran. What'd you say? I trust your thoughts on this.
Well, I suppose that as long as we're not walking into a death trap over in Western Athos, it should be fine.
And if we are, they're in for trouble.
Yes, well, I don't think any of us would take too kindly to that. So sell up here and head west.
Calidor, you make your way back over to the table, and you come in on the conversation basically between Uthal and Ostrin, and conversation about whether or not to head west.
I slide the letter over to him so he can read it.
Okay, I will. I'll sit back down. I will look over this letter. And do I recognize the names?
Yes. The name Nelt was he's widely considered to be one of the founders of the Company of Solemn. He kind of founded it at the side of Solemn himself. If anybody was ever considered to be one of Solemn's friends or close confidants, it would be Nelt himself. But during the time of troubles about 300 years ago, the company itself split. Solemn gave Nelt the right to take his men and head out into the world and carve his own way. The last that was ever heard of him was when he left the port where you guys are currently at and headed east into Aethon itself. Since that time, there has been no further connection between the company of Solemn and Nelt. It's always been a situation when somebody left the company that their story was chopped and ended at that point. They were never tracked, traced, or anything like that. There were rumors for a time that there was secret conversations going on between Nelt and Solemn. And if you want to roll a history, you can certainly do such.
I will make the attempt. With a 4.
With a 4, again, you rack your mind. And the 4 of you that are sitting there, you see Caldor looking down at this incredibly fine piece of vellum, the ink flowing beautifully across it. The parchment itself is almost a work of art. The scribe that created this with calligraphy and all of these representations around it, it's almost as if like the Bayou Tapestry was laid across this piece of parchment with a lot of the same styles of figures, telling the extended early history of the company of Solemn. And you would think that it would bring a smile to Calidor's face, since of all of you, he's the oldest continuing member of the company. But what falls across his face is this far off look, and then kind of a blank, little bit of a slackening of his jaw as he can't. I mean, he looks lost as he's thinking something over. Then he kind of comes back to you. You don't remember any of it. You do remember that there were rumors, and people had heard. You all had heard rumors of the fact of Nelt's departure from the company, and the fact that there were rumors that Nelt and Solemn himself both kept contact with each other. And there were rumors way back then of possibly the company expanding out into other regions. I will give all the other 4 of you a chance at a history for another piece of information, as once again Caldor sits there and looks at this piece of parchment in wonderment.
For once, I don't roll too badly.
We'll start with Larathan.
23.
Ooh, nice. Ostrin.
I only got a 15.
Yorla, you don't get to roll because you know nothing about the company. Uthal.
My speciality, 25.
Okay, so you all pretty much able to suss out. There were rumors back that tie back to about 150 years ago of another kind of captain that left the company, but the name escapes you. It's kind of shrouded in a bit of fog. And the fog, especially to you, Ostrin, seems odd. It because like you're drawing a line and you're kind of Rolodex style, just flipping through the known history. And as you're moving through this history, you hit this one section that it's literally as if somebody took a wet blanket and just laid it across it. And that chunk of information is gone. Everybody else kind of rolls past that, as if just wasn't that important. But to you, Ostrin, it seems odd. It seems that something is being hidden.
Well, I definitely can't recall the exact specifics of how this all went down, but perhaps those who were long lost cousins would be able to at least fill in some of the blanks. Plus, we look at this piece of lovely parchment. It appears that our cousins are doing far better than we are in the funds department.
Yeah, I'll slide the them back to whoever wants and say, yeah, Nelt has an interesting reputation. I'm certainly curious to to see what's happened.
I
Earthen
snatch
will-
up the letter and
Oh,
just sniff it.
no, Yorla.
It's got a
down, Yola. Don't.
it's got
no
the smell of
licking.
old paper and sea salt and a strange distant perfume.
He smells good.
Well, that's a good sign.
What do you think? You've been fairly quiet.
I think that we need to add travel to the negotiations for the rest of the manor.
Okay. You think we should go then?
Yeah, why not? It'll be a
Before we
fun
go-
last adventure.
I think then we are all decided. You coming with us, Keldo?
I will come with you if there's room for me back here. But before we go, I have discovered something in my my little detour. The first man who visited us, the threatening one, the
Shag.
concealed one, indeed. He has left some sort of appears to be some sort of strange enchantment on a wall, not too far away.
I say that we just sell to them.
Maybe we should investigate what he has done.
Yes, I don't want any booby traps left. Doesn't matter who we're selling this
Just
to.
give them what they want. We don't need it.
Bad man tried to hurt me.
He liked you.
And speaking of tried to hurt you, sitting at Ostrin's feet is still the iron cauldron, filled with not children, but water, and that simple coin in the base of it still showing the platinum styled outlines and the drop. But as Ostrin, as you kind of glanced back down at it as you're kind of maybe beginning to shift to go over to look at the thing that Calidor is talking about, you notice again on the surface of it, as before there were kind of storm clouds that had roiled across it when you were doing the augury, there seems to be a couple more clouds that are moving across the surface. And again, they're moving in an eastern to a western direction on the surface, and this is quite odd, and you might actually even cast an eye up to the sky, and the sky is its normal blue color except for that one cloud that's moving across, so it's not representing that. But for a brief second, you see the outline of kind of a haggard old face. You can't make out if it's male or if it's female, but you definitely see the outline, and it actually kind of comes up and almost presses ever so slightly out of the surface of the water. You can see literally the water as it presses up kind of pulls off the side and comes like almost as if you were lifting your hand out of the water. The water rolls off, although the visage itself is still watery in appearance, and then it just kind of sinks back into the cauldron itself, not saying a word, not making any sound, nothing outside of just the fact that you just saw a face emerge out of the cauldron. There's no other signs of anything going on at this point in time. Ooh, a DM reroll. You are the type of people I like. Thank you for that. I will definitely put that to very good use.
Chat is against us.
So what are you guys going to do?
Did you spot the one from Swarmsy earlier?
Oh,
Reroll for each player and +5 for the DM.
+5 for the DM and a reroll for each player. Ooh, all right, Swarmsy. Sorry I missed that, my friend. Boy, I'm gonna have some fun.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna head out with Kaeldor to check what booby trap and ensure that I keep my eyes on the sky, because it's a errant cloud seems to not, I don't know, it seems to be not in the right place.
Okay.
I'll follow, staying extremely close to Ostrin.
All right, so Kaldor, Ostrin, and Yorla step away from the table, all moving in the direction that Shag's Longtooth first appeared in and then again vanished. As the three of you make your way kind of over to the wall, there's a separation of maybe 15, 20 feet from the actual longhouse, the only building left of the estate that you guys still own, and the wall itself. And as you kind of cross through this period, this point, this area, Ostrin, you in particular, go ahead and roll me a perception check, just because you're focused on this weird cloud situation. Caldor, I'm sure that you're probably more concerned about the rune itself, and Yorla, you're just there for the ride.
I'm just gonna go outside, lean back, and watch.
Alrighty. So, Ostrin.
First of all, it'd help if I was scrolled to the right spot of my handy dandy D&D Beyond, but that will be 15 plus 3, so 18. I'm rolling well today.
As you kind of get away from the edge of the longhouse itself, your vision is pulled to the east. And as you kind of look out to the east, it's not like you're searching for anything or looking for anything in particular, but something out there pulls your attention that way. And far off, almost to the horizon, you can see what seems to be a thin black line on the skyline itself. It's that crystalline blue Dragon Isles kind of sky that kind of fades to an almost aqua kind of blend over the ocean surface. And further out, you can see this kind of thin, roiling black line. You can actually see at the base of it where it looks like kind of thunderheads roiling around on the bottom of it. And it looks like the port and the Dragon Isles themselves are in for a bit of a storm, although it's far, far off. And again, it strikes you as odd because it appears where that line is at that it would be moving again from the east to the west. Fort Revel and the quarter or the region of the city that Port Revel resides in, which is Port Salem, by the way. I got it wrong last week. Port Salem is indeed upon a hill, so it does give you ample viewing of the surrounding areas and the rest of the city itself. There's another several quarters that kind of go up this very large hill. I wouldn't say it's a mountain. So you actually see this storm kind of roiling out there.
All right, I'll mention to Keldor and Yola, who is oppressively close to me right now, that we need to be quick because there will be a storm heading in. Better be inside for this one. And then I'll continue to inspect whatever rune or magical thing that Keldor has found.
You make your way over to the wall itself. Keldor points it out, and you can see it quite easily on one particular cobblestone. And whether it's an act of the rune itself or whatever, that cobblestone seems to be a little bit murkier and darker than the stones that surround it. And you can see on it what Caldor described as a rune, but to you seems more like just a jumble of odd lines until you kind of begin to focus in on it. Go ahead and roll me on Arcana. I apologize to everybody. What?
I'd like to help him with that.
Okay, go ahead and roll Arcana with advantage then.
And I would like to stand about 20 feet back.
And to everybody watching, I apologize for stumbling over
Lord.
my words. I'm still fighting a bit of a head cold.
Nat 20, even without advantage.
Whoa, nice.
Ampersand.
As you kind of focus in on it, and you're just about to kind of turn towards Caldor and be like, these are nothing, you see that jumble begin to form into a shape in front of your very eyes. And it's slowly, these inky kind of black runes begin to swirl around each other and pull into what appears to be an ear sitting upon this stone, and you recognize it instantly as being a charm or a sigil that's used for listening. And at this moment, you realize that probably anything that has been said in this courtyard since before Shag's Longtooth showed up has been relayed back to Melwyn Gimp.
Good thing I only said good things.
and it remains there on the stone.
Do I see that as well?
No, you don't. You see the kind of rounded off edges, but even to you, it looks like a jumble of nothing more than shadowy lines. You can sense the magic. You can sense that there's definitely something arcane there, but you can't quite suss out exactly what it is. Although definitely Ostrin was able to do such.
I'm going to usher everyone away from the rune quickly. The cobblestone, like other side in the longhouse now.
Oh, what'd you find?
I just continue ushering until we're inside and hopefully far enough away. Like Shags has left.
I'll follow.
Shags has left or placed there at some point an enchantment that is going to listen in on our conversation. So probably was well aware of everything else going on.
Crafty.
I don't like the
bet on him
underhand.
having somebody. Sorry, I would have bet on him having somebody here to actually listen, but makes
Perhaps
sense.
it does.
Maybe.
Like I said, best that we don't anger them. Let's just give it to them.
I still feel that no matter who we sell to, it's going to be unfortunate, but I don't want to leave the town here with the wrong people having the resources they should not. I just don't think I could live with myself otherwise.
Oh, the town is part of the reason why the Company of Solemn is the way it is now. They didn't support us the way that we might have needed. We did everything that we could for them.
You know, I don't like the idea of either of them having this place at all. But if
What?
we're going to head out on this quest, if that's what it is, we're going to need the money. So we need to sell to one of them. Because odds are we're probably not coming back here, are we?
No.
Yeah, unfortunately, if we didn't need the funds to actually head towards these cousins of ours, I'd say we put it into holding, rent it out, but we're going to need the funds to get there.
So, you all agree?
And from a side room in the longhouse, you hear a low, kind of a rumbling sound begin to emit. It's one of those side rooms that when you enter into a grand hallway, into a grand estate, which, make no mistake, Fort Revel was, some point in its long history ago, a grand estate. It's one of those that has these great hewn doors that slide open, and those doors are beginning to slightly vibrate periodically from underneath, and in the crack, the point where they open, you can see a flash of light that plays in your mind and reminds you a bit of lightning in a storm-wrecked sky. In the midst of this rumbling, you begin to hear kind of metal, like something heavy and sloshing, kind of roiling back and forth. As you're standing where you are in the hallway just inside the longhouse with the courtyard behind you, one or maybe all of you kind of, when you hear that sound, cast a glance back. And at first, your minds see the scene that you left behind you, but go ahead and roll me a perception check just to make sure. Starting with Larathan.
20 total.
Ostrin.
4.
Hey, you called it. Yorla.
9.
Uthal.
Yeah, I rolled a 1. So that'd be a total of 4.
Nice. Kaldor.
21.
So Kaldor and Larathan, as you guys cast a glance back out into the courtyard, you're just about to pull your vision away. Everything out there looks to be as it was when you left, and then a shadow again from the sky above casts over the outside, and you notice that the iron cauldron that Ostrin Thorngage had used for his augury to kind of get a glimpse into the future is not out there. As you guys recognize this and realize this, the rumble continues, and those doors, those heavy hewn doors that are carved immaculately to show a scene of the company of Solemn putting down a mighty dragon. They rumble and open ever so slightly. A bright flashing glow dumps out into the dimly lit hallway, and inside that room, in the center, kind of rumbling and shaking, you can see bits of water splashing out, falling to the wooden floor, is that cauldron itself. And it's sitting there shaking and rumbling, flashes of a light emitting out of it, splashes of water hitting the floor, and a strange harp-like music plays in the room, very, very subtle, almost lost, as a rumble of thunder emits out of the room as well. The doors continue to shake.
What did you do, Ostrin?
It's nothing. Ostrin just looks very shocked.
I start approaching warily.
I go open the door.
All right. So as you kind of start to like approach the door cautiously, Yorla, with absolutely no fear and this almost childlike quality of curiosity, just steps right around you, walks up, takes each side of the door, and they're heavy, so with a bit of effort, she grunts a little bit and pushes the doors open wider. Everything that's in this room is old furniture, maybe an old chest or table off in one corner, everything kind of covered with dust. It's pretty much representative of the rest of Fort Revel. Your coin is gone. Your butler artist tries to maintain the place, but it is definitely fallen by the wayside. This cauldron, Yorla, in front of you just is sitting there now trembling. The rocking has subsided. You can see the surface of the water shimmering, kind of like a glass of water on an electric car in a dinosaur movie as the T-Rex is approaching. It just kind of vibrates with these thunders. And you can hear now somewhere off in the distance as the thunder has subsided. You can hear it though still in the distance, this low rumble out of thunder. And there's a periodic subdued flash now that you've opened the door. You can feel this vibration of power emanating in this room directly from the cauldron. And you being new to the company of Solemn, you being the baby member, you're still learning a little bit about each of your new friends, your new compatriots. And this is definitely showing the immense power, at least to you, of what Ostrin Thorngage wields and commands. And it might even strike you with maybe a bit of awe that he has the cauldron, due to his magics, is moving alongside of him, because you can literally draw a line almost directly from where the cauldron sits in this room back to Ostrin Thorngage. And it seems whimsical, powerful, enticing, intriguing, and it sends a bit of girlish giddiness up your spine at the thought of what power you are witnessing and you are now in the midst of.
I look at Ostrin wide-eyed and go, oh, "You would teach me this?"
And
Yorla, this is careful. Don't touch anything. And
it's certainly the most impressive nothing that we've seen.
And as Yorla is turned to face the four of you, she does not see what the four of you see. As the cauldron continues to rumble and shimmer, you can see the water kind of that has been splashing out a little bit and coming over the edge begins to settle, and something in the center of the cauldron begins to rise up. At first, what you see is just water being displaced, and it does begin to kind of roll out over the lip of this great iron cauldron and down over the rounded belly, sprinkling and splashing a bit onto the floor. And at first, what you see is just this rounded point, and you think maybe you see seaweed or you see moss or something inside of it, as gradually a haggard, old, weathered face, even in the water, with the water flowing away from it, kind of beginning to rise up out of the center of the cauldron. You can see straight through it. It's not taking any solid form. It's still made of water. And you can see this moss and seaweed type matter kind of form to make its hair and its head, and as it rises up, the face fully forms, and what you see is maybe 100-year-old woman, very haggard. You can see the fine details of her face even as they're being represented in the water itself. Eyelids kind of snap open, and you can see briefly as they first kind of snap open flashes of lightning, and then they settle to a moss green color and then kind of fade back into being water. You can still see them themselves. Her lip kind of curls up at the side. So, it has been far too long, brothers of Solemn, far too long since we have spoken. Caldor, this voice, although modeled by the watery sounds that she's coming out of, the visage strikes you as oddly familiar, as does the voice itself. Go ahead and roll me a history check.
Here we go. Not bad. 17.
And you almost take, well, you do. You actually, a gasp kind of comes out of your mouth, and you take a full step backwards. Everybody else notices. Yorla, you definitely see it as you're like looking at them. You hear this behind you, and you see Calidor kind of step back, and a little bit of the color fade from his face. Calidor, you recognize this visage as being Amira Thrashal. The last time you saw Amira Thrashal was several hundred years ago. She at one point in time acted as a bit of a witch, a sage, a seer for the company of Solemn. During the battle at the Abbey, she betrayed the company and almost led the company to its demise. And then during that battle, she was cast down and you thought destroyed, that you would never see her ever again. Yet now, rising up out of this cauldron, here she is once again. Her face, odd with the shimmering of water, you can see right through it, but the details are there. And when she speaks, bubbles of water and what appear to be swamp-like matter comes out and dribbles down her watery chin. You can't see like the rest of her body, or even her, maybe just the top curve of her shoulders. Caladia, dear Caladia. Long time no see, but it's not you that calls me. It's none of you. There is a source out there that wishes me to deliver a message to your motley band. Your destiny has been woven, your path divined. He who sits upon the thrones that bleed, he comes calling to return to his company. And as she says this last bit, you see the face kind of warble a bit, shimmer, another kind of rumble of thunder as the water kind of begins from the top, moving down to kind of displace and fall away. Gradually, her hair going back into the cauldron, her forehead going back in the cauldron. Then her nose and her eyes goes back to the cauldron. Yet her mouth hangs for a brief moment. As I said, others bid me to contact you. Seek me if you wish to know more in the city of temples. And her face disperses back into the cauldron itself. The room begins to emanate this god-awful, rotting, vegetal, swamp, marsh gas kind of scent begins to fill the room. And Calidor, you remember that in the swamp of Sireth, that is where she was put to her death. Although you've never heard mention, none of you have ever heard mention of a city of temples anywhere in the Dragon Isles. As this kind of falls back into the cauldron and this scent begins to whirl in the room, you notice that the bubbling in the cauldron as she settles down goes from that murky watery color to a deepening darkening color as it begins to shift from swamp water to a kind of crimson color.
No more cauldrons for you. I'm going to walk over to it and I'm going to kick it over.
Very quick question. What was her name?
Her name was Amira Thrashal.
Okay. I will look to the group and I will kind of looking a little bit horrified. I like to say, I know that face. And that is Amira Thrashal, and if you do not know her, she is a traitor to the company hundreds of years ago. The beginning of her treachery has led quite a long time to this state here. No one would rightly seek her out.
Wonderful. And she prefers the dramatic. Why is it everybody that wants to talk to us today wants to be super dramatic about it?
And there's a light dinging in the hallway, and you can see upon the wall where the bell that alerts usually your butler to impending company, but he is somewhere outside cleaning something up, rings very, very lightly with a little ting, 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 ting.
You know what? I'll get that.
You, Yorla, notice all this, and all this happened literally in a few seconds, and Larathan steps past you into the room, his boot hitting the cauldron and knocking it over. Larathan, when you knock over the cauldron, pouring out of it is a great wash of red crimson liquid, the viscosity much thicker than water, and as it comes out, you see what appears to be congealed pieces of blood and a couple chunks of flesh, and even a finger or two spills out of it. The coin gone. The coin does not come out of it, but this is definitely not Ostrin's doing in any way, shape, or form. Uthal, as you make your way to the door and you swing it open, you see a slim figure dressed in top coat, vest, fluffed shirt, definitely more, again, a dandy, but not quite as much as Gipley. What's standing before you is a golden tressed long, pointed-eared, what appears to be a high elf. He's got glittering yellowish green eyes, wide eyes at that, very fine features, thin, razor thin almost lips, and a fine pointed nose. He bows in all of his regal finery deeply before you. My lord, I come to apologize for the gnome known as Gipli. It is to our understanding that he made, may I be frank, an ass of himself.
He did a bit. Come in. Don't be overly dramatic.
The figure, very long, lean, graceful, almost too graceful, gives a slight curtsy and moves his way into the hall. My name is Alistair Radoman Greyleaf. I represent Lord Shivago and the Three Winds. It is my fault that Gipli paid you an unneeded visit. It is I who should have been here, but I was called away on other business. May I have but a brief moment of your time? And he kind of does one of these things, slightly lifting his pointed chin, very clean shaven, sniffs the air, for it appears you are currently preoccupied with other things. So if I may have freedom to speak, I will make this short and concise, and you can be about the rest of your day.
Yorla, do not lick the guts and fingers. Leave them.
Okay.
Luther will look around at where that stuff's on the floor, shake his head slightly, gesture. Why not? Just talk.
My Lord Shivago wishes to apologize for Gipli and his performance. It was beneath not only my Lord Shivago, but obviously beneath such a great and grand array as yourselves. Shivago wishes to meet with you at your earliest convenience, if that would be possible, to discuss closure upon his most gracious and ample offer for your estate.
Thoughts, everyone?
We may as well just meet everyone today and get all of their offers out on the table and make a decision, because otherwise you're going to keep just coming and interrupting us in front. Well, not exactly making dinner, but where is that butler's house?
Your master should be aware that we do have other offers.
We are aware of such. My master has appropriated a small sum as a counter offer. If you will meet with him, I will leave it up to him to make the offer, for this is his bargaining, not mine. I am but a messenger.
Fine, as long as he's aware of the possible consequences for him doing so.
A quick question: are we close to the listening room, or are we on the other side of the?
Yeah. There's several walls within the estate between you and that room. That rune. Aliastor bows ever so slightly. We are aware of the counter offer and where it comes from. I am at liberty to state this much: that we understand it is the Company of Solemn's desire to leave the Dragon Isles. This we are aware of. We are aware of gimps, and when he says the word gimp, there's a bit of distaste that rolls across his lips. And for a brief moment, you actually realize that while he's foppish and that sort of thing, unlike Gipli, this gentleman, this high elf, there's something about him that there's a little bit of strength or something else there. My Lord Shivago has also given me leeway to say that the Company of the Three Winds and the Silver Griffin will guarantee that there will be no interference from Gimp and his shadowy conclave as long as you're in the Dragon Isles. Once you leave the Dragon Isles, you are on your own, but we can guarantee your safety until then.
doesn't hurt to talk.
Well, when would we be ready to receive? I turn to the rest of the group. Would we be ready to receive him later today, or shall we actually see someone tomorrow rather than everyone on day one?
Oh, well, there is a bit of a mess here. We need cleaning.
I do not believe you quite understand. My Lord Shivago will not be coming here. You will have the honor of coming to him.
And where would that be?
Up upon the Jade Hill at the Three Winds Estate.
I've never been there before.
Yeah, and you do realize that the Jade Hill or the Jade Quarter is the richest of the rich within Port Ceylon and within the Dragon Isles. Probably the richest of the noble families, the merchant princes, even some of the more nefarious figures might actually reside up there. It's also many times known in the lower districts as Banner Town, because on pretty much every single day, the spires and the roofs are topped with flowing banners, thousands of them, delineating this noble house, that noble house, this merchant house, this merchant prince, blah, blah, blah. It's always been something that's kind of beneath the company of Solemn, whereas in the past you might have worked for some of these companies and some of these merchant princes and that sort of thing. It's not the type of place that you would frequent in any way, shape, or form. You all do know that Lord Shivago and the Three Winds Trading Company, and in relation the Silver Griffin, he's definitely one of the more powerful merchant princes in the city, in the Dragon Isles.
Well, when will your master be expecting us then?
He pulls from out of his vest a small gold, kind of garish looking pocket watch, flips open with a click, and you can kind of see in his hand all of you, including you, Yorla, and this to you is exceedingly kind of exciting because you're seeing all these things you've never seen before. This city is all these strange sights and sounds and smells and people. And here's this regal, elegant-looking half-elf who's just flicked open this thing that emits this kind of faint bluish shimmer, a definite arcane object in his hand, looks down at it, and you hear this kind of tick-tock sound coming out of it. Would 3 hours be enough time for you to ready yourselves?
I'd like to rush over really close to him and take a nice, good look at it.
Yorla parts past all of you, closes the gap to Alistair Radoman Greyleaf, who just kind of stands back, his eyes, and when he stands back, he kind of leans back away, his eyes get like saucer shaped. His hand remains there, Yorla, and as you're like right up in his face, approach him and then turn your head down to gaze. When you look down, you see an odd disc that's been clasped open, and there's this faint glow. And you hear the tick-tocking sounds, and what you're looking down on is, to you, what would just be a regular locket. But this one actually has a very miniaturized, magical, floating grandfather clock setting inside of it. And the whole image is kind of this wavering blue arcane energy as he's like, excuse me, and kind of puts his hand out and with a click closes it. Careful, and he kind of looks you up and down, and for a brief moment, you can see the sparkle in his eye, not like Shag's long tooth, but he looks you up and down and has an appreciative look in his but you can see the wheels moving in the back of his head. And while it's not the same as Shag's Longtooth, it is definitely along the same lines. He closes the pocket watch up and closes it. Yes, I believe in 3 hours, if that would be ample time.
DM, what time is it? Or would I know what time it is?
Right now it's probably mid-afternoon, so it would be probably around supper time, dinner time.
Okay.
3 hours seems good to me.
Yeah, I think you have your answer then. 3 hours is good.
He goes down again into a low bow with a flourish of his hand, comes back up, his eyes quickly glance over all of you, landing once again on Yorla. There's a twinkle in his eye.
Her away.
and he spins on a heel very gracefully, makes his way to the door, flips the door open, and disappears out into the crowd beyond. As the door opens, all of you roll me a perception check. Starting with Larathan.
That'll be a 14.
Ostrin.
12.
Yorla.
Natural 1.
Uthal.
7. I'm clearly looking at the mess or something instead.
Kaldor.
23.
Kaldor, as you're looking out, as he kind of opens the door and gracefully exits out into the street, it's not the throng of people moving up and down the street. It is mid-afternoon. It is the height of when people would be going about their daily business. That's not what catches your attention. It's not the banners upon houses. It's not the architecture. It's not the bobbing sails down in the bay. It is this line of roiling clouds. You could probably estimate it being maybe 100, maybe 150 miles out, but it is roiling. You can literally see the bottoms of the clouds kind of bouncing up and down, and you think you see lightning out there, but you're not quite certain. It's quite the contrast, because you can see that the day sky, going from this crystalline blue to an aqua color as it goes out over the waters of the ocean. This storm is moving definitely from the east to the west. Something that is quite odd. It has happened in the past, and these are usually severe storms, but there is definitely something about this particular storm. It seems odd. It seems exceedingly violent. Like it's almost bent with ill intent. And he closes the door. You hear the heavy scuffle of footfalls behind you as your butler makes his way into this hallway, into the mess and all of that's going on here. Kalidor, is there anything in particular you're going to do?
So the guy, he's completely gone out the door now, right?
Yep.
I looked at Ostrin a little bit accusingly, but I would say, whatever you said about that storm, there is definitely something weird going on with it out there.
Look, it's not something. There's a few clouds, I'm sure. I may have swapped the weather patterns slightly. I'm sure it'll just calm down. It's nothing to be concerned of. Faladan is a powerful god, and I will definitely say my afternoon prayers to him to hopefully calm the weather.
Okay. It wasn't that your cauldron the creature came from. I'm not sure your power's really working it out today.
Look over at Artress. He did it.
Artress is standing there, and he literally is. He's kind of looking at this mess in this room that he's going to have to clean up, and he's got this definite look on his face as this deep guttural kind of rumble builds and dumps out of his mouth as he's looking at this, and he turns to a side cupboard, a thin door he opens up, pulling out a mop and a handful of rags and this decanter, this crystalline decanter of this brownish liquid that smells a lot like pine. And he pulls that out and he looks back over and he looks at the five of you. My lords, may I have but a moment of your time?
Of course, Archers.
I'd actually.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'd like to take the rags and start cleaning up. I want to help him clean up.
As you take the rags, it just leaves this befuddled look on his face. He has spent easily a couple hundred years cleaning up the messes, both of battle and of home life of the company of Solemn. He's used to waiting on 100 more soldiers and stuff when the barracks were up and active here. But it gives this perplexed look as you kind of come over and grab the rag out of his hand and you dance off into the room and begin cleaning up the muck that's there. And he looks at you for a moment and his head draws back. My lords, that one is rather strange. I have heard.
Her heart's in the right place, though. You wanted to talk to us.
I have heard several instances about the selling of this grand old lady. I hear rumors that you are thinking of, and he goes on, this slow, droning, drawly kind of voice. I hear that you have plans, possibly, of venturing east to the shores of Aethern. I do not wish to sound out of place, but if this is true, could you do old Artress a favor? And he something you do not see or have not seen very often, this old, tall, broad-shouldered Furbolg bows ever so slowly, rising back up.
Of course, I think the platinum might still be in there.
You've served the company since long before most of us were born. You've earned the right to ask pretty much anything you want.
You're an old friend. Of course we will listen.
Another thing that you're not used to seeing is a bit of a curve, as what could almost be construed as a smile breaks across his face. You are much too gracious, my lords. I wish, if you would indeed be heading to the shores of Aethern, deliver a message to a brother of mine that I have not seen in a very long time. If you happen to venture to the Port of Storms, I believe those in Aethern call it Storm Haven. There is an inn known as the Gilded Nymph. If you would be so kind as to deliver my message to Grillmesh Farwalker. He, from what I last heard, is a houseman for that establishment. The message is a simple one. Hi. And he steps back and again into a slow bow.
Did you say the message is hide?
Hi, as in
Hello.
Yes.
Oh.
Yes.
Can we say hello?
Yes.
What kind of inn is this? Is this the good kind of inn?
I am not. I believe it is. My
wonderful.
brother
I think we should go there.
would not work for a seedy establishment.
I'm sure we can manage that.
Yorla, as you are cleaning up the mess, the muck, and all of that, you're sweeping up bits and pieces of things. Go ahead and roll me a no. Yeah, roll me a perception.
$13.
As you take this rag, this is probably the third or fourth rag. As you're kind of mucking things back up into the cauldron with this kind of sick, sloppy slosh sound, something when you take the rag and move it, you feel something exceedingly hard underneath the rag, and you kind of pull the rag away, kind of like you're almost expecting to see this coin. And you pull your hand away, and when you look down, you see this small glass-like object, almost like jeweled in the blood. The blood is still kind of hanging onto it, but where your rag was at, it actually brushed it kind of clean. And what you're looking down on is what appears to be like crystalline blue, faceted gem. The facets being very, very small. Unbelievable, and it twinkles just a little bit. Definitely grabs your attention. It's something very, very wondrous.
I'm going to use the rag to pick it up.
All right. Yeah, you managed to pick it up. And when you pick it up, and are you going to look at it again?
Yes.
Okay, when you pick it up, now that you've it's moved through the rag, it's wiped off a little bit more of the blood and everything. And what you're looking at is kind of a blue bottle fly. The front end of the body is done in crystalline kind of stone, jewel-like, and then the wings themselves are this gray and green jewel-like. But the butt, which is probably twice the size of the rest of it put together, is this great blue, multifaceted, what appears to be a sapphire. It's very, very, very intriguing. And as you sit there and you hold it and you look at it, you think for a split second you can feel it vibrate in the rag. You get this almost kind of bzz, bzz kind of sound, or not sound, but feeling in the rag, and then it goes this docile, no more.
Ooh, look what I found. And I'll hold it out for everybody to see.
What she holds out is this mucked up bloody rag. There's literally there's little like almost congealed blood that's kind of dropping and hitting the wooden floor inside the room with a very sick, sloppy plop kind of sound. A bit of what appears to be like a bit of flesh stuck to the rag, the fibers of the rag and the flesh kind of melding as one. And you see her holding this rag forward to you. And at the distance that she's at, you can't quite make out what it is, although there is a little bit of a sheen, and it does appear that there is an object in her hand, but it's maybe the size of the second knuckle or first knuckle of your fingertip, so it's maybe an inch in size, but you can't see it. And from that room, there is this still hanging smell of now blood, congealing blood and flesh mixed with this swamp gas methane kind of rotten egg smell as well that's hanging in there. A bit of the iron smell from the cauldron itself.
I'll put my hand out.
I will just wipe the entire rag on his hand.
this
No,
rag,
no.
as it hits your hand, she just basically takes her hand, turns it, and just, and then kind of as she pulls away, it actually rolls the rag a little bit across. So you feel the chilled, congealed blood. You feel the hard object, but you also feel the rag as that kind of push where the chunk of flesh that was attached to the rag kind of slides across your hand. And she pulls her hand away and lets it sit there. Somehow, amazingly, as Yorla pulls her hand away, there is no blood on her hand. She's left everything on you.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Take a look at the object and see what it is.
Okay, as you flip it over, you see the exact same thing that I described to her. It's this gem. It's not crystalline. It's definitely gem. The body of it is fashioned out of what appears to be molded, possibly diamond. Like something has transformed a fairly large diamond into the front body of a fly. And then the wings that are there are this gray and green kind of shimmering color. And then the butt of this thing, which is double the rest of the size, is this great big blue sapphire. The cut is magnificent. You can see that it's multifaceted, and the facets are extremely small, so that any of the light that's around it glints off in multiple points. You don't feel any vibrating sensation, but you can appreciate the craftsmanship, although it's awful odd that it came out of there.
Yeah, this is very nice. Very nice.
May I keep?
What has Yola found now, Marathon?
Take a look. I'll toss it to him.
Dexterity check.
Yola, where did this come from?
In there. And I point to the bloody muck.
That wasn't me. A 9, by the way.
A 9. As Larathan tosses this through the air towards you, you see it sparkle, you see it kind of shimmer, and it gives off the glint and all of that. But as it comes towards you and you reach your hand out to catch it, it should be easy enough to catch. It's not like he whipped it at you or anything like that. But as it closes in with you, this buzzing sound emits from it, and the fly itself seems to come to life and buzz off into the air and kind of begin to buzz around your head. It eventually goes back into that room towards the cauldron and back into the cauldron itself.
Oh, come back, my pretty.
Are you going to chase after it, Yorla?
Yes, I will.
All right. You all see Yorla as her eyes wide as this crystalline gem-like fly comes to life, buzzes around, and then makes its way back in there. And as it passes Yorla and goes into the room and kind of turns and goes back into the cauldron, Yorla runs like giddy after it, her hand outstretched like a child trying to catch a butterfly in an open field. And you run back around and curve back into the cauldron itself. And as you look into the cauldron, you see a sight that makes your skin crawl. You all see Yorla turn a bit white, slamming her feet down to stop. Yorla inside, when the fly disappears into the cauldron, you see the inside of the cauldron, this ghostly, misty vision inside. You can see another cauldron, great and huge, bubbling and roiling with blood, with body parts, with other things you can't identify. And around this cauldron are several figures that are clad in black robes and sitting upon a throne-like seat. You can see the stomach, and it's this leathery, blood red kind of abdomen. And you see it kind of moving independently as if things are pushing out of it. You see a hand push against it, that sort of thing. But your vision comes back to this cauldron as you see these things that are chanting around it. This great creature on this cauldron reaches forward, reaches his hand in, and pulls up this wet, matted, fur-covered thing that is just writhing back and forth in its hands, and he sets it down on the ground and then reaches back in. This continues, and then it begins to fold in on itself. You all looking in can see Yorla probably looking a little bit peaked, a little bit yellowish and green around the gills. The blood, this is not fun, Yorla. This is not excitement. This is not the mystery and that sort of thing that you're looking to experience in life. This is bad. Very, very bad. And as this roils in on itself, a face appears, kind of pushing out. And you can see it's that same female, old, wizened, leathery figure. It's got blood now dripping off of where there should be water. And the voice comes out into your ears, Yorla. You are young, Yorla. Your mother served me well. Your fate has been written, child. You will betray the solemn. And it pulls back in, and the whole thing roils and sucks back into itself. You're left, Yorla, looking at the bottom moist part of the cauldron, a puddle of blood where the belly of the cauldron rests, a puddle of blood there that now kind of, as it begins to like dry up and evaporate, pulls from blood to water. That little crystalline fly is the only thing that's left.
Did you get it, Yorla? Don't let it get away.
I quickly back away from it, saying, no, 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 no.
Did any of the rest of us catch the sound of that, or
No,
was it just Yorla?
That was just Yorla.
Ah, okay.
Of course, it was just Yola that heard that. Yola, what's wrong now?
I no speak common.
I'll go get the fly.
Are you okay, Yorla?
No speak common.
You do. Are you okay?
No, 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 no.
So who
I'm
went to
gonna
get the
go
fly?
back down there and grab it.
Okay.
I'm getting it.
All right. Yeah, it's completely inanimate, completely crystalline. And as you get close to Yorla, you can actually see like beads of sweat. Just where her hairline is at and maybe coming down her brow. She's definitely would be pale in color, and you can definitely pick up the fact that she's rattled. As you reach your hand around and inside the cauldron to grab the fly, and you grab the fly itself, there's a little bit of a vibration as you pick it up. And you can almost hear this audible bzz, 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 bzz kind of sound. And then it goes completely like inanimate. Go ahead, though, and roll me a perception check. Because a beam of light simply comes through the blinds and illuminates across your hand and across this piece of glass or crystal or gem-like subject.
As a side note, I think we lost VT.
Oh, we lost villain. Yep. Oh, there he is. He's back. Nope, he's gone. Nope, he's back.
Hello.
So at this moment, we are going to take our break for the evening, ladies and gentlemen. As we leave, Larathin is holding the gem-like fly, the blue belly or blue bottle fly. Yorla has just had an encounter with this witch-like Amira Thrashal in the base of the cauldron and witnessed something quite horrific, as if something was summoning beings from a similar cauldron in a far-off land. We will be back in a short 5 to 10 minutes. Thank you for hanging out with us. We appreciate having you here and sharing in this small little campaign of ours. We'll be back in just a few quick moments. All right, let's get to the
Welcome back, Kaldor.
We are back. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. If you're new, this is Forged at the Table. This is episode 2 of A Walk Beyond, where I get the honor of running a D&D 5e campaign with 5 of the most incredible, wonderful moderators from over there at dndbeyond.com. I will save the advertisement for the end of the stream today, but I do want to give a shout out. Holy cow, let's give a shout out. Swarmzy for the 2,000 bits, Blondu007 for the follow, Sylph for the follow, Devin Rue for the host of a one viewer, Rob Strange McNamara for the follow, Nerdlepedia for the 300 bits. For the host from Rob Strange McNamara, Blue Mercy for the follow, Sedgwick's for the follow, Amon Doctor for the follow, and Roller 300 for the follow. I am going to mention one more thing before we get back into this. If anybody out there would like to play in a D&D game, either ran by myself or by one of the other Dungeon Masters we have coming online here at Forged at the Table, all you need to do is drop a follow here on our channel, get involved in our Discord, and we will try and fit you into a game. We have several Dungeon Masters outside of myself coming along here shortly, so there will be spots. I will be running one-shots and pop-up games, where very impromptu games, that sort of thing. Our impromptu games called Pop-Ups actually gave birth to probably one of the most it's the favorite character of everybody on the channel, Bubbles the Turtle. So if you want to get involved in some games, please feel free. Camera is not required unless you're a Dungeon Master. As long as you got a headset and a microphone, we can get you into a game. DL Heartless, thank you for the follow. Super appreciate it. And to everybody who's dropped follows and stuff today, welcome to our unique and yes, sometimes slightly dysfunctional family. And the heck with it. I've got a couple minutes. Here is the commercial. If you have not been over to dndbeyond.com, do yourself a favor, head over there right now, because I guarantee you the tools, the people, and what they have going on over there will be beyond your wildest dreams. We here at Forged at the Table use D&D Beyond exclusively for all of our 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons games. D&D Beyond is the only thing I use to run my D&D 5th edition games in-house or on the stream. So do yourself a favor, go on over there, take a look around. We have some things coming up here on this channel that'll even give you a little bit deeper look, because the character project is getting ready to kick off again. So there you go. Go over there. And I'll tell you, if you're going to drop a follow on us and you want to get involved in some of our games and you do not have a D&D Beyond account, go create one. It's free. And with that free account and our channel, you get access to everything that's available on that website. So yeah, go check it out, because it is beyond belief. There you go. Anyways, I've been accused of having a bit of a lewd relationship with that website. So I love it dearly. Obviously, I love it. I love the people over there. Holy Cringer, thank you for the host with 20 viewers. Super appreciate it. Wow. Thank you. So, when we left off, Larathan had just picked up the blue bottle gem-like fly. It vibrated just a bit in your hand, but has now gone silent. Yorla, you're kind of not sitting back down or anything like that, but you're definitely kind of reeling a little bit from the vision that came your way out of the bottom of the cauldron when you went to go retrieve the fly that flew back in there. So the other 3 of you are just kind of still in the hallway. Artris is now passing through and making his way over to the room. He's got mops. He's got this decanter of kind of looks like pine sol, if everybody's familiar with pine sol. And it does give off this pine scent into the room. And it kind of mixes with that kind of rotten egg methane smell, that swamp gas smell. And it mixes with the smell of the blood, that coppery kind of tingy kind of scent. and it's alluring in a strange sense, but has a gag quality to it. So Larathan, you have the fly. What is everybody going to do?
I'm going to go ahead and hand the fly over to Source or to Ostrin.
Okay, this is not. Where did this come from? This is not from here. Does it look
Something to do
familiar?
with the witch.
I think we need to be very careful here. That witch person I recognize in Emira for sure, she was put to death for her treachery to the company. So whoever's sending her, I mean, this was hundreds of years ago. Whoever's sending her as a messenger has done so very specifically, and probably not with our best interests at heart. So whatever is there, be cautious.
Let's also remember it might not be her. It may just use her voice, her image. And we all know that people can be brought back from the dead as less than savory things.
Yes.
Ostrin Thorngage, how close of a look are you going to give that gem-like fly that's in your hand?
Why not? Let's have a peek at it.
Go ahead and
what's
roll
the
me an investigation as you begin to kind of roll it around in your hand and get a closer look at it.
Well, I mean, if you don't want it, I can take it.
I just want to see what it is exactly.
It looks like a lot of money to me.
Everything looks like money to you, Larathan.
So Ostrin, go ahead and roll me an investigation. 12. As you kind of roll it around in your hand and the light that's in the room kind of glints off the surface of the multifaceted gem-like bug that's in your hand right now. It is immaculately well crafted. And you notice in one of the instances of rolling it that when the glint kind of subsides, you notice what looks to be like cracks in the blue bell, the blue bottom part of it, the butt end of it. It looks like there's very, very fine hair-like or finer than hair-like cracks that are going through it. Not like devaluing it, but there are definitely inside it appears to be cracks. And then as you roll it, they're there, they're not there, depending on how the light hits it, sort of thing.
It doesn't look like it's worth a lot, especially Larathan, take it.
Yeah, sure, I'll take it.
Yorla, are you paying attention to them passing this fly back and forth?
Yeah, I'll watch. I'm watching this.
As you see this exchange go between Ostrin and Larathan, and Ostrin goes to hand it back, and Larathan picks up this immaculately crafted gem quality bug. The light hits it. Go ahead and roll me a perception.
20.
Damn. As the light hits it, it reflects through, and you can see on the wall behind where they're at. So you have Ostrin handing it over to Larathan, that beam of light that was coming through the blinds in the room where the cauldron was at, sends a shock of light, golden light through, and it hits this bug. And the reflection that comes out the back side of it is almost projector-like in its quality. But you see at first what looks to be these hairline fractures in it reflecting out. But as you look at them, you notice they begin to change and almost move as the light moves through it. Go ahead and roll me an Arcana.
That's another 20.
Jesus. So as this shimmering cracks, as the light moves through it and your eyes focus in, these cracks begin to shift and change a bit, and you begin to see what look to be archaic or arcane runes, or a blend of them. Not in a full line. Like it's a little bit of a crack, and then you notice that there's appears to be one rune briefly, and then another rune over here. But these runes definitely have an outline of arcane energy around them, and it reminds you of something that calls to you from your deep past, from somewhere way back. Not something that you saw yourself, but something that your mother or somebody in that circle may have mentioned, maybe in the diary that you carry, or something you had heard in passing conversation. You can't quite put your finger on it, but it calls to you oddly. What would you like to do?
Do I recognize the runes themselves? Can I tell what they mean or what they say?
Go ahead and roll me a history.
17.
You stand there for what seems like just shy of an eternity. You're not the most patient of people. And everything slows down, and have you ever like been so trying to focus on some fine detail that you feel that tension go up into your back, and you kind of begin, I get it all the time when working with graphics and that sort of thing, and it kind of crawls up, and it begins to just gnaw on you. And then a book, very old parchment with a strange light tan leather rimming the edge of it, folds over in your mind, and you see just briefly before it fades away the same kind of rune on that piece of paper. You can smell a very, very distinct, tart, sharp incense, very, very cinnamony, very, very expensive, and you smell it almost quite physically as it plays through your mind, and you see a few of these runes on the piece of the parchment, but you can't quite place exactly where it was at. But it does have something to do with something with your mother, or the diary, or her past.
Am I in possession of this book?
Yeah.
I am going to go and snatch the gem.
I'm gonna palm it. It's gone already.
All right. Let's go ahead and roll initiative on this. So Yorla and Larathan, let's see who's faster. Who gets to move?
Natural 20.
8.
You in excitement, quit showing me those dice. You in a fit of excitement, Yorla, you try to move, and whether it's the moisture of the blood still on the boards or whatever, your foot slips, and Larathan just kind of looks at you and just palms it and puts it away.
Oh, I'm sorry, it's gone. It just disappeared.
No, I need the gem.
I don't have it.
It has runes. I must know what they are.
No speak tiefling.
I just look extremely defeated.
So Larathan pockets the gem quality bug. Yorla is sitting in the room, kind of disappointment across her face, almost pouting like a small child would pout, having had something they greatly desire taken away from them. What is everybody at this point in time going to do?
Ostrom is probably, if the cauldron is somewhat cleaned up now, the mess.
Yeah, Artris is in there. He's just now righting the cauldron, cleaning up the last little bits, and he's actually moved up next to Yorla And his great form is standing above Yorla as her foot is basically in the one puddled kind of area of blood that he can't get to. And he just looks down at Yorla from his great height. Excuse me, milady. Spot needs cleaning.
I'm actually standing in the blood.
Yeah, where you're at, there's like the last little bit of drying, coagulated blood on the floor.
I'm sorry, and I'll walk away, just trailing blood with me.
And Artress kind of watches it and looks at it and just, not like the old days, as he begins to clean up this last little bit of mess in the room.
So,
So
Archus, you wanted to talk to us about something. There's something we need to talk to you about as well. We're going to be leaving and selling this place. What are you going to do? What do you want to do?
And you see this kind of long, faraway look come into his eyes. Artress, knowing how things work in this great world, I have planned for this day for a long time. I have a small farm in the hills west of town. I will retire there, raise some hardwall sheep, grow grapes, grow older. If
that sounds wonderful.
And he bows. It pleases your lords, that is.
And fishing too, right?
I do not. I apologize.
It's
Like
okay. Not
fish.
everybody can like it.
I'm pretty sure only you like it, Marathon.
Okay, that's acceptable.
So do we need to do anything with that fly gem thing?
We'll hold on to it for now. Maybe we'll see what it can do later on.
As long as it's not listening into us.
At the mention of that, I'm actually going to go find that book and start searching for those runes or whatever.
All right. You dig around a little bit and you find it rather quickly. And what it is it is a very, very old, it almost feels like it could just kind of crumble away in your hands. Quite old feeling, and it goes back quite the distance. Your mother would not have been the first to have this book. And it's dense. It's probably a good 4 or 5 inches thick. A little bit smaller than your standard size book. The pieces of paper inside of it are a mixture of vellum, fine parchment. Some pieces of the parchment that's older is crumbled away. And the thing that frustrates you the most is that the script that's used to write this, you don't recognize. So the words that are in it are gobbledygook to you, but you do eventually, as you're kind of fluttering through that. And everybody can see her kind of walking back into the hallway from one of the side rooms, flipping through this old book. And as she flips the pages, you literally see bits of dust fly out of it. You actually at one point in time see a moth flutter out of it. You can see like a bookworm inside kind of moving through a page. You come to a section where there's runes similar to what you saw on the wall. And the way the script goes, and then there's a rune, it's almost as if this page is describing something about the runes. Like the runes are highlighted, larger, thicker ink, more emphasis put onto them.
I'll bring that book with that page open back to everyone and say, someone read this.
I'll read it.
Okay, as she
Is it in a language that you don't understand, Yola?
I cannot read. No, I cannot read this.
As she passes the book to you, Uthal, it is. What languages do you speak?
Me?
Uthal.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Uthal speaks. Oh, hold on. I need to check this. Sorry.
Sorry.
It's like, luckily I know the right place for this on D&D Beyond. Common, giant, and primordial.
No. You
Okay.
you again, it just looks like you can see these definitely look like runic features to it that are highlighted. They're in a different color ink. They're much heavier handed put on here, and they stand out from this very flowing, elegant looking script that is just a little bit above like a heartbeat of a line, but it's definitely flowing, but you do not recognize.
I'll put it
Oh,
down
yeah.
on the table. I
It
don't
says
recognize this.
it says right here, do not give Yorla bug.
I don't. Maybe.
What
Can I
what-
have a
what-
look at it?
Okay, what languages, starting with Larathan, what language do you speak?
Primordial and common.
Okay, Yorla, just to make sure.
Common, infernal, and elvish.
Okay, Calidor,
Common, Elvish, and Sylvan.
Ostron.
Common and halfling.
All right, no, you all look down at this journal, this book that Yorla's produced, and none of it none of you can read it. It's this flowing script. Thank you so very much, sweetie. This flowing script, and it has definite rune-like elements to it that are highlighted and brought out as maybe being the focus. You can all basically figure out that it's probably saying something about the runes, just the way it's all laid out. That's not very hard to make. And as you stand there in the hallway, the day begins to drag on. What are you going to do with the book, Yorla?
I'm going to point at the runes and say, these runes are in that gem. We must find out what they say.
I don't believe her.
I'm
But
sure they
we
were
need
just
to
cracks.
discuss. We need to discuss what we're going to do about Lord Gimp.
Well, we should hear the new offer first from Lord Shavara.
I mean, we can meet Gimp at any time. A couple of us could head down there now.
Sure, we could, but we've already made an appointment for, I guess, just a bit over 2 hours from now.
So are we completely ignoring, and I gesture over towards the runes that are out there?
No? But it would be remiss of us to not hear both offers in full, surely.
Larathan is done. He's happy that he deflected from the gym.
So you all find yourselves standing in the hallway trying to decide what is the next move for the legendary company of Solemn. You now find Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, Ostron's probably going to go upstairs or to his room. I'm not sure if we even have an upstairs. And prepare himself and get ready for dinner or whatever it is we are going to at Lord Chicago's.
Don't forget to pray.
You all find yourselves a long way from the glory days of Fort Revel, the glory days of the company of Solemn. Once one of the most revered mercenary companies in the Dragon Isles, the company that has faced down dragons, giants, and all sorts of fell beasts, has battled armies great in number. You now find yourselves tossed between accepting a paltry sum from a thief prince and another paltry sum from a lord or a prince of a merchant company. Both of these things just 100 to 120 years ago would not have been considered. The idea of selling the last remnant of Fort Revel hangs in the air, this possibly being the swan song of the Company of Solemn within the Dragon Isles. That's what hangs in this hallway. That's what is draped like wet silk over the entire building itself. While the idea of going to Atheln may be exciting, it may be new adventure, the history of the Company of Solemn would indeed hang heavy in this building. Are you all going to prepare for the meeting with Lord Chevalgo?
Yeah, I'm gonna grab a couple of the banners,
Okay.
put them inside my pack, maybe a couple stools, a couple planks of wood. Got to get everything I need before we head out.
All right. The next couple of hours slide by. Everybody preparing for this meeting, for this next chapter in the company. Something hangs also in the air, and that's the fact of this witch and her hinting at another history of this company, something that's hidden. And Ostrin, while you were up in your room getting your fineries on, cleaning yourself up for what you kind of maybe picture in the back of your mind, this grand dinner, this supper of epic proportions, this begins to play in the back of your mind, this missing piece that's there in the history of the Company of Solemn. Go ahead and roll me a history check.
15. My wonderful +0 to history.
All right. So as you're sitting there, you're probably maybe even leaning forward, pulling on some stockings or boots or a garter or something like that. And just a little bit of that fog that covered the spot drops away, and the name Sir Andrus Gellin pops forward. He was, you think, addressed as a high captain, not a fellow that you knew because it was several hundred years ago, but he was addressed, you believe, as a high captain. He was one of the company's commanders. The company was broken up into different like battalions or whatever, and he was one of the men that was given to govern one of those, to command one of those, a person of power. And you, the name itself, as just as easily as it comes into your mind, that fog kind of reaches out and begins pulling it back, laying just a short foot or two from you on your dresser, on your table is a fountain feathered pen and an inkwell and a tablet of parchment. And as the name begins to pull back, and you're sensing the loss of it once again, what do you do?
I'm going to write the name down on the parchment so I don't forget it again.
All right.
That's,
Roll
step
me an intelligence.
8.
You grab for the parchment, you pull the pen out, dip it into the ink. You quickly move your hand towards the parchment in front of you, and you manage to get out S, the letter S, I, and then RES before this fog covering that point pulls the name back away from you. But you remember, you're still filled with that maybe a little bit of excitement because you're still filled with the fact that you lost the name, but you remember recovering something out of that area. You all, after spending time getting ready, meet back down. Yes.
I'm going to spend an hour inspecting that little fly, perhaps attuning if required,
Okay.
just to see what it's all about.
Go ahead and roll me, as you're spending time with it, go ahead and roll me let's go ahead and roll me an investigation, just because you're rolling it over, looking at it, probably taking a very close look at it.
26.
Holy cow. As you're looking through it, you've actually probably got some lights going, that sort of thing in the room. And you're probably leaning close to the light so you get as much effect off of it. And you see these fracture lines that kind of come out and are reflected out of the center of this blue bottled belly. And as they play across your hand, but then you begin to focus in on it, and you realize there's probably 100 very, very finely done lines of archaic script work just in the butt end of the sapphire colored bottle end of the fly.
Nothing that I would recognize, I assume.
No, but there's definitely, no, you would recognize it. It's the same kind of a script that was inside the journal thing that Yorla had.
All right. I'll go ahead and stow it for now. Place where Yorla won't find it.
The five of you gather back down in the hallway. And as you all come down, gathering in the hallway, you see a small bit of bags. There's 2 bags and what appears to be a crate set by the back door of the long hall. You recognize it to be some of the luggage that Artress has used in the past when the company has gone on missions or gone to investigate things and that sort of stuff. It appears that your butler is indeed getting ready to bug out, as they say.
Artress, leaving so soon.
And he sticks his head out from a side room, looks over at you. No, but one can never be too prepared. I am just readying for the inevitable.
That is true. I want to let you know, once we sell this place, you will be getting an equal share.
That is gracious of your lordship, but it is not necessary. Artress has stashed away a nice little nest egg for himself over the past couple centuries.
I will go ahead and take your share then, my friend. Thank you.
So the five of you are gathered there. The time fast approaching with the meeting with Lord Shivalgo at the Three Winds and all of that. Once again, the bell at the front door tinkles.
Who now?
I'll go open it.
Yorla just kind of skips down the hallway gleefully, swings open the door, and is greeted with the visage of Alastor Radoman Greyleaf, the messenger who was here just a few short hours ago. He's dressed again in fineries, but strangely enough, his clothing is different. Purples and golds now replace what he was wearing earlier. Great swaths of jewelry upon his fingers and all of that. But Yorla, the sight that catches you most off guard is the carriage-like structure that is being hoisted on high by about 30 to 40 of these huge bound kind of bent and hunched figures. They look a bit giant-like, as if they were to stand fully upright, that they would be probably 10 to 15 feet in height. But they are bound over and doubled. You can see around their necks these collars of blackened iron with runes that shimmer. They hold on by these bars that are coming out from this great carriage-like contraption. A set of stairs is kind of unfolding with one clack, then another clack, as it slaps down on the cobblestone, and these two great gilded, garishly painted with vines and grapes and gold, snap open. The entrance, or the inside's completely empty. Alistair Radoman Greyleaf bows deeply, milady, and my lords, your carriage awaits. We shall escort you to the point of meeting. Yorla, you also count rather quickly at least 50 heavily armed company guards for the Company of the Three Winds. You see their armor all dressed in plate. Armor similar to what Uthal Steelborn has worn. The great metal constructs. They almost look like golems in a way to you. Their visors are pulled down. These great horns rolling off and fixed into the blackened steel armor. You don't see anything that would lend it to be that it's magical, but the sight of these 50, each one of them with a pennant rising off of their back, that pennant being the three blowing winds, the symbol of the company, the Three Winds Company. Quite quite the entrance. And you notice that the people that are still moving around are giving wide berth to this assembly. All total, maybe 100 total figures in all. Alistair looks past Yorla in at all of you, almost one by one, going from head to foot and foot to head, sizing you up. It would appear that my lords and this wonderful lady are ready to meet with my lord Chevalgo. I hope you did not overdress and expect something extravagant. We have brought a sufficient escort. I'm afraid it may not be quite to your stylings or tastes, but my lord gleefully awaits you. He has supped on a fine meal and will meet you in his cottage, if that is okay.
I get really close to Alistair and say, hello again, and then I run for the carriage to make sure I get the best seat.
You all see Yorla do this, and again, this look of terror. It's definitely his eyes again flash saucer wide. It's this look of somebody who hates having their personal space, their bubble invaded. Like, and you can almost see him, while he's obviously attracted to this demonic looking creature, the fact that she has violated repeatedly his space almost gives him this kind of willy kind of thing. Like maybe he's the type that spends extra time washing his hands to make sure all the germs are gone. And as Yorla dances off out of your view, and you can hear her feet thunking up something, and this gleeful giggle erupt from her voice, from wherever she's at. You see Alistair kind of looking and just, that one has no manners, my lords. If you would be so kind as to follow me, we will make our way to this meeting, if that is okay.
So, DM, we make the assumption, obviously, slavery is going to be perfectly within the law and normal around here.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay, cool.
Yep. There's actually a race of halflings from the Dragon Isles known as the Banded. that about 100 years ago threw off the yoke of slavery, but they literally walk around with the impressions of bands around their wrists, ankles, and necks. It's a dark line. So yeah, slavery is definitely open. It's no laws against it for sure.
Okay, I'll look at Alistair. The cottage is far?
No, it just a few moments is all it will take. But we cannot have such grand and noble fellows as yourself just walking. It would not make a very good impression on those who are used to Lord Shivago's eccentricities.
And Uthal shall stride out of the door, and a few moments later, round the corner comes a massive black warhorse. Obviously previously summoned using the Fine Steed spell. We'll trot up to Uthal, nuzzle him slightly, and Uthal will say, "I'm not walking."
And he just this look on his face. Of course, my lord. It's such a fine steed. I am sure that Lord Shivago would be interested in adding such a magnificent animal to his stable if you're open to such things.
She is not for sale.
And I would not sell her if she was my own either. Such a magnificent animal. So, the rest of you?
I step in front of Kaeldor, whisper over to him. The deed, we should probably keep it safe. I pull open my pack.
Oh, do I have it? Do I have the deed? Sorry.
Yeah.
Oh. I'll.
Don't lose that.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I will murmur back to the ref, and I will say, it's a good point, but I will keep hold of it for now. I'm not yet convinced that the strange gem you have does not have some of those runic qualities. Better keep it separate.
No, at least with the pack, it'll be someplace safe.
I have a pack. Don't worry.
Very well.
So the rest of you going to follow Yorla up into this grand and garish carriage?
Yeah, Ostrin will.
I'll go ahead and turn and start heading over to the carriage.
Right.
Yeah, I'll join them.
All right. So Kaldor, Larathan, as you make your way into this carriage, it's obvious this carriage could hold 25 people comfortably. And as you get up into the carriage, you see Yorla swathed in silks and just lounging back on these fine pillows, probably rubbing herself kind of against them, kind of like a spoiled cat almost. Just loving the feel of all of this. Her legs bare, kind of rubbing up against it. And for a brief moment, quite seductively, until you see that childlike glee in her eyes and across her face. This carriage is immense, and as the door closes behind you and you hear the clacking up of the steps behind you, the whole thing shifts kind of fluidly as it begins to move. As you make your way through the city towards, at first, what does seem to be like you're heading towards the Jade District. You can see people outside on the city streets. You can see their clothing going from that of a commoner. Some of them maybe workmen, dusty, dirtied, some clothes that gradually, as you move up in stature, the clothing begins to change. But you always notice that the people that you see passing by are all kind of a gasp at this display of these giant creatures that are carrying this carriage, and not a too few number of them also kind of as Uthal Steelborn. You need to remember that while for the most part the company of Solemn has lost its station over the past 100 years, there are a number of people, both human and other races, that do remember this company, remember the glory days. And these people, upon seeing Uthal upon this great and magnificent black horse, the symbol of the company, all of that gloriously displayed. They actually, looking at you, Uthal, bow deeply. Most of them older, most of them of different races, but you can see that the respect that they're giving you, because you're the one that they can see, is indeed deep running and genuine. There are those within this city that most definitely remember the company of Solemn. Do most definitely remember the stories and the things that the company of Solemn have done, not only for great and grand nobles, but for the common man. The troll siege at Glendon Fallow would be probably one of the most recent ones, and quite possibly one that some of you would have participated in, where trolls laid siege to a common moss harvesting farming village that farmed this almost iridescent kind of moss that's used in inks and stuff like that. It was the company of Solemn that came to their aid, as all the other companies felt it to be beneath them, their arrogance getting so much. So as you pass these people and they give you deep bows, it does remind you of the glory days. And riding on that steed in this company, it does bring back that feeling of riding to battle with a cause, that sort of thing. You guys traipse your way, and when you guys get to the grand stone, it's this white and emerald jade colored marbling. You see the great gates that seal off the Jade District, also known as Bannertown, from the rest of the city. They're great gold enameled gates with guards and a tower and everything. They stay shut as the caravan veers to the left, traipses down for maybe a half hour down into a different section. It's still noble and all that, but it grinds to a halt outside of this large palatial walled estate. You can see this white stucco domed building inside with at least 50 banners snapping in the wind. It is the main ones that you see, and the central spire one that you see is the company of the Three Winds, the trading company. All the others are the subsidiaries of this company. The doors are swung open. You see several figures dressed as common house people, that sort of thing, come out. They drop down, the doors open, and you're all escorted into this compound. What you see is not quite the extravagant gaiety that you were expecting. It's very, from what you've seen of the Jade District, this is very subtle. This would be closer to what Fort Revel would have been back in its glory days. It's still higher nobility, but definitely not what you were expecting. A couple of butlers open the front doors in front of you, and Alistair comes up to you, bowing once again. My lords, Lord Chevalgo awaits you within. And he steps out with kind of a bow.
I thank you. I head out of the carriage.
As you
I stay real close to him.
Okay. As everybody is standing here, the wind kind of shifts and blows. And somewhere off in the distance to the east, you think you hear the rumble and snap of thunder and lightning. The air out here is very much perfumed with perfumes and incense. You can see lining the walls around here these heavily dipped banner-like furls of fabric, various gay colors. All this fabric that you see hanging around, quite expensive. 50, 60, 100 gold just for the lengths that you see, and they all appear to have been dipped in some kind of a liquid, because that's where the majority of the smells emanate. On each sides of the open gaping doors are these huge ceramic marbled pot-bellied vases that are filled with a very fine white sand that has these enormous round sticks of incense burning. Inside, you can see the flickering of firelight lighting up the room, and you can see, even from where you're at, gold on pillars, pillows of silk similar to the carriage laid out and about, but you do not see the throng of people you would think that you would see. And somewhere deep inside of there, you hear this deep, arrogant voice boom out. So, what are you going to do? You going to make me wait all day? Or are you going to come in?
Turn to Alistair. Alistair, is there somewhere for Raven to shelter?
He reaches out to take the reins himself, and he points, and off to the side you can see.
No need. She will follow you.
All right, and my lord, she will be in our stables if that is okay.
That's fine.
And the horse, yeah.
And I'll telepathically let the horse know to head over to the stables and let me know if there's trouble.
All right. That is done. So the five of you are gathered outside. Like I said, there's two butlers, one on each side. There's a very, very light harp-like music coming from the inside of the building. The scents and smells out here are almost nauseating. It's so heavy, and it's almost as if they don't want to smell the rest of the city, because no matter where you're at, you will smell that salty sea air smell. They're trying to get rid of anything that's lower than them. This whole place reeks of arrogance. It reeks of too much damn money. And as you're kind of taking this all in, slowly making your way in, you all recognize that there are people within Port Salem that are suffering, that are paying the price of these merchant princes. There's rumblings throughout the lower caste parts of the city of overthrowing them, of taking back the wealth that once used to flow to almost everybody. And it's kind of like trickle-down economics. It's not trickling down. The rich are getting richer, and the poor are being held down. And this is a prime example of that. As you step through this great gaping maw of arched doorways and step inside the room is immense and round, but it is just one single room. The amount of gold spent or platinum spent in this room boggles the mind, as pillars of gold rise up to meet a flat ceiling, not a dome ceiling, which you saw from the outside. There are pillows from all over the realms of both of the Dragon Isles, but places far more exotic. Incense in great numbers burns in here. Lanterns of varying colors, stained glass, some that are telling motifs and all that. The only figures in here are up on this raised dais, sitting upon what appears to be this mountain of pillows, is this great giant of a man. You can see these broad shoulders, maybe 4 feet across. Hanging from that is bare chest, dark skin, down over a rounded belly, but it's not a rounded belly necessarily of fat. It's the kind of belly that you would expect to see on somebody who's used to lifting great weights. Not defined, thick legs. The only thing that he has on is this silken loincloth and a pair of gilded gold-looking sandals. The rest of him is completely naked. Laying throughout on the pillows are just as scantily clad, both gals, girls, and young boys and men. The things that catch you other than that are the two very large steel-clad guards standing next to him, each standing there with a great curved cutlass, the size of a greatsword, that are sitting there calmly on each side of the dais. The thing that maybe brings a chuckle to your face or not is the gilded, it's iron, the cage itself, and it's hanging by an iron chain, but there is a very fine, exceedingly high crafted silvered metal that wraps around this cage, and these enameled leaves so somebody has spent a lot of gold and painstaking time to dress up what at first you would think to be a bird cage. But sitting in the center of the bird cage, curled up, sleeping, is a very foppish looking gnome that you've had chanced to encounter before. Gipley hangs in that cage, this great mound of flesh sitting up on his pillows. It is good to see you. Come, company of Solemn, we have business to take care of. And he, with a great wave with his meaty hand, there's pillows all over. Sit if you would like, stand. It is of no consequence to the great Chevalgo. I have need of your building. I understand. Well, come. And he pauses. Come, sit. Would you care for a drink?
Sure, that would be great. Thank you.
Lord Fedarin, it is a pleasure to finally meet you.
Lord Fedarin, Chevalgo, get it right, boy. He gives a clap, and this door that you didn't see before opens up on the wall, and you see this incredibly scantily clad, very exotic looking creature come kind of gliding out of it. Yorla, the rest of you see it as well, but Yorla, it is strange to you because you can see a golden collar around this creature's throat and gold around her wrists and ankles. You can see the horns coming off the back of her head as she is definitely of similar blood. She comes out carrying this tray almost effortlessly that has several different crystalled decanters and that sort of stuff, all carrying different kinds of liquid in it. And as she dances by you and sets it on a table in front of the five of you, you can smell this over-perfumed on her. And you notice by looking at her that there are, in some of the wrinkles, at first she looked very young, now she looks not old, but weathered, the kind of weathered you get from mistreatment and slavery and bondage. Almost that the smoke itself has stained and tinted her skin. She's been here so long. She does that, and she moves away with the bow, turning to face Lord Chevalgo as she escorts herself. Go ahead, partake. This is the finest you can find in all of the, I would say, yes, all of the Dragon Isles. There is anything that your hearts may desire. Is there
I will
anything
partake.
else? Anything else I can do for you? Or shall we get down to business?
This is a fine place. Business is why we're all here, though.
I understand that bastard Gimp has been in contact with you and offered you an offer greater than mine, greater than Lord Chevalgo's. Is this true?
That is correct.
Then let me make an offer that will quash any doubt you have about my sincerity. He with a snap of his fingers, a figure steps around this dais, this mound of pillows, carrying a small chest. The chest itself is about 16 inches wide, about 12 inches high, and this figure is actually struggling with it. You now notice that everybody in here all have collars on, even the great armored giants that are sitting there with these huge cutlasses. You notice that on their necks, on their gorgets, that there's like runic writing on them that kind of crackles a little bit with energy. He drops it down, bows low, reaches over for the clasp, and pulls it open. What glitters inside is far more than 1,800 imps, far more than 2,000. Lord Chevalgo strokes his ample goatee, his puffed cheeks, dashed with just a little bit of rouge to bring out the color. I believe that this is far more than Gimp could ever offer you. That is 3,500 imps. He pulls up a great glass goblet of orange kind of wine sets it to his lips, and he almost looks as though he's waiting for an answer.
These runes, do they appear to be the same as in the book and in the gem?
No, not at all.
Okay.
We could do with arranging passage to the east as well.
That
Can you
will
arrange that for
not
us?
be a problem. I have a favor to ask. The imps are for your estate. You ask now for passage. I have already offered you safety within the Dragon Isles, but I have a favor to ask. It pains the great Chevalgo to have to ask this, but I think we can barter another trade. You ask for safe passage. I ask for a favor in return. It would appear that one of my dancers, and go ahead, everybody, and roll me, except for Yorla. Go ahead and roll me a history check. Starting with Larathan.
11.
So, Ostrin.
6.
Woohoo! Uthal.
History, right?
Yep.
26.
Thank God. Kaldor.
10.
Uthal, you have heard and remember the tales of Chevalgo and his great galas, his balls, and that one of the things he prizes the most are his dancers that he's fetched from all over the globe, all over both here in the Dragon Isles, in out in Atheln. He's gathered all of them, and it's something that he prizes. It would appear that one of my dancers, her grandmama, cares for a child that is, and he almost, like when he talks about the dancer, you can see his mood elevate, but when he talks about the grandmama and the child, it's beneath him. That arrogance comes back out. The grandmama cares for a child that is important to this girl, and as it is important to her in benevolence and generosity, Lord Chevalgo shall be made aware, and I shall take care of it. I would ask that you go investigate whatever it is that is the problem with this grandmama. I don't even know. And he kind of looks over at one of the knights that are standing. I don't even know what a grandmama is. I don't. If you would be so kind as to go and see what can be done about this, I will grant you safe passage.
Look over to the others.
I'd actually like to insight check his intentions.
Okay, go ahead. You guys roll so magnificently.
9.
He seems.
rolling-
What was that?
Like I say, I'm like rolling 3s and 4s and 18s and 19s.
Yorla, you kind of focus in on him and the way his body language is, but there is so much of him that you can't take it all in. And in the process of looking him over, you kind of get lost. You realize that these great male nipples are pierced through with great heavy rings of gold. You can see that while his skin is dark, there's actually tattoos along his arms that are a shade lighter. So it gives off this weird, but you're not able to suss it out. He seems genuine. That he's willing to offer you guys safe passage anywhere you want to go.
Yeah, what do you think?
I will
Just seems a
even
generous offer.
I will even to take care of my dancer to make sure that this is handled properly. I will even grant that passage upon the singing revenant. You have all heard the name, the Singing Revenant. It is one of the flagships of the Company of the Silver Griffin. The Company of the Silver Griffin is not a trade company. The company, the Silver Griffin, is actually what they call a bounty company or a ward company. It's a company that gives out bounties. They set up in bigger cities and that sort of thing, and they give out bounties for creatures that need to be captured, slain, for villains and thieves, things that basically anybody can pay to have a bounty posted for. That's what these guys handle. The Singing Revenant is captained by Hadalwin Gildenharp, a captain that you know has a great reputation. The Singing Revenant is a warship.
Passage on that should be fine.
So, a deal then?
I don't believe we'll be getting any better offer than this, honestly.
I can guarantee you will not.
I would like to ask you a question, though. You said you have need of our estate. Openly, what is it you wish to do with it? I'd just like to know.
Openly, I wish to turn it into a whorehouse. It is something that is missing in that district. It fits the bill. It's on a busy street. I can make money.
I do approve.
Fine. Does anybody disagree with the offer?
I have no objections.
With another
Keldo.
snap of his fingers. Yeah, go ahead.
Do you need another dancer, perhaps?
It all depends. I am always looking for dancers. Is this one beautiful and exotic?
Look over at Yorla and nod at her.
For this one. Come here, girl. Step forward. Come into the light. Zhivago says come into the light, girl.
Ostrin is going to glare heavily at Larathan.
What?
And he looks at all of you. Is this not why she is here?
No, it's not.
He kind of cocks his head, a little confused.
I'd like to hit him. I'd like to hit Larathan right now.
All right, go ahead, Larathan and Yorla roll.
I'll go ahead and let her.
All right, she smacks you solidly. A loud kind of smacking sound echoing out through this great round chamber.
I knew she knew common.
So I take it that this one will not. I will give you 1,200 more imps for this one. Girl, can you dance?
No, I cannot. And I do the worst dance I can possibly do. Like, I don't know, mowing the lawn.
Roll me a performance.
Oh no.
You're accidentally super sexy.
20.
You are actually stumbling over your feet, and you actually fall down to a knee at one point in time. You knock over the tray of fine wines, the crystalline decanters smashing everywhere, the wine splashing up and staining pillows. You can see this great mound of flesh. My God! Get her no! Get her no.
I'm going to run up and go and grab Yorla by the tail and just pull her back.
You can see this look of disdain and horror
Yorla, this
wash
way.
over Lord Zhivago's face. I have
Lord
no
Zhivago.
desire.
Sorry about that, but we did say she is not a dancer that you would want.
No, she is not. Anyways, Mirak. And this skinny, scrawny guy comes walking forward, does this with this box, and his feet pull out from underneath of it. And you realize that it's a portable desk, and it sets down. He folds out the eaves. May I see the deed to the estate in question, please?
Okay, yeah, I go ahead and I produce the deed from my bag and set it out.
All right. He takes the deed, lays it out, goes over it. Let's see here. And he looks back. It appears to be all in order, my lord.
It is.
He turns it around, puts down a pen. I need each of your signatures, please.
Oh, well, this is it then, isn't it? And go ahead and sign.
Do you all sign?
I will sign as well, yeah.
Yep, let's do this.
Yorla?
Sure.
Uthal?
Yeah, are we just signing the paper, the deed, or are we?
Yeah, you're
something
just
like
signing the deed. You're just signing the deed. Once you've signed it, he pulls the tray. The feet fold back up inside of it. He turns around. Very difficult, but he manages to cut his way up and through all the pillows, brings it up to Shivago, whose great giant meaty hand grabs the pen, signs off on it. Good, business is done. Please, down in the Rambles. And the Rambles is a section of the city that's nothing more than an elevated shanty town. Please go see this Mama Gisela. And take care of whatever it is that is the problem. When is it that you would like to leave?
I'm assuming as soon as possible.
Tomorrow would be good.
Then
Yes, convenient.
We've just sold where we live, so
He hands out. Actually, he pulls up off the desk a small rolled piece of parchment with a wax seal on it over what appears to be a very thin leather band. This merc, this elderly kind of scribe type person, leaving the desk behind, comes down to you and hands this to you. That will be enough to secure your passage upon the Singing Revenant. Just hand it to the captain or one of his mates, and all will be taken care of. Now you may go. Our business is complete. I have more business to take care of.
Thank you very much, my lord.
Yes.
Go ahead and
Go.
look over and try to get the Goliath to help me with this chest.
Okay, bye.
Uthal reaches down, picks up the chest with one hand, and just wanders out.
When Yorla says goodbye, you see this great anger mixed with disappointment come across this giant man's face, his visage, and you can see beads of sweat, and he kind of clenches his fists in kind of anger mixed with longing as he sees Yorla spin to leave. You all make your way out of the estate, back out. The carriage is gone. All the eccentricities are gone. Your horse comes up to you, Uthal, but there is nothing else here. You were escorted in a grand fashion. You are not going to be escorted out. Business. You get this distinct air that business has been done and handled.
Once we're outside, I'd like to continue hitting Larathan, and as I do so, I'd like to try and see if I can feel where that gem is on his person.
Oh, you won't find it.
Go ahead as you're doing this, and you're hitting on him. Go ahead and roll me a sleight of hand.
Sorry, I missed what you said.
Go ahead and roll a sleight of hand.
17.
Go ahead and roll me a stealth, Larathan, to see if you were good enough at hiding it.
Natural 1.
You
It's just hanging from his
Yorla,
neck
as
like
you're kind of
that.
hitting him, you feel it, and when you make contact, it's on a pocket piece, and it actually pushes up, and you actually are able to take your fingers, if you wish to, and lift it off of Larathan.
I'd like to, yes.
All right, you lift it off of Larathan, you tuck it away, and Larathan is none the wiser. The great port city of Ceylon stretches out in front of you. You can see the varying difference in the quarters, and far down near one of the docks districts, you see the area known as the Rambles. It's an elevated shanty town of close set wooden buildings, most of them kind of at times leaning against each other. It's very, very thin alleyways and thin streets. Most people avoid it, but there are merchants and cooks and other folks that do live in the shanty town. Further out, you see the great bobbing sails on the multitudes of bays that surround this particular city. You see gaily colored sails, black, white, yellows, blues, greens, and you can hear the distant bobbings of the bells ringing and echoing up. But further out east is this great line of roiling black clouds. And you can now see, as it's gotten close enough, where you can see forked lightning running the length of the clouds, emitting out. And there is definitely something unnatural about it, not only because it's moving from east to west, but from just the sheer look of it. It does not look right. It's one of those things that gives the willies. And you can actually notice now that there are townsfolk up here that are beginning to pay attention to it. Are you going to make your way down to the Rambles, down into this quarter of lost souls, so to say?
Austrian, what did you do?
Trust me, this is not my doing. Should we send word before we leave this area back to Atros to take his bags as well?
Yes, we need to give him his amount of gold as well.
It's all safe in this chest. Don't worry.
As I start to head off, but I think heading down into the brambles, I'm going to be muttering under my breath a very long and devout prayer to the god of the crackling skies.
All right. When you as you kind of walk along and you kind of mumble this out, you this heaviness kind of falls down over your shoulders. And you hear, in a thunder that only you can hear. I mean, everybody hears like the crackling and the thunder out there, but this thunder is much more close, much more set almost on your shoulders, Austrian. My child, I have need of you. This great voice kind of rings in your head. It has the notes of rolling thunder, the vowels cracking like lightning. You can smell that thunderstorm scent in the air. Much is coming your way and the way of your friends. Find a place separated from all, where you can be alone, and I will send a messenger, my child. You see in your eyes this short, portly-looking halfling emerge from roiling clouds. You think at first that you're actually going to see the god that you've dedicated yourself to. But if this is the god you've dedicated yourself to, he's let himself go. This halfling is short, portly, and dressed mainly in rags. There's nothing that would say that this is the messenger of a god or a god itself. But you can definitely see very dark eyes that seem to be sparkling a bit, as if with the crackle of lightning. And then everything pulls away.
Okay.
Are you okay down there, Austrian?
Yeah. Yes. Shaking myself off. Yes, I'm fine. Continue to the brambles. Yes.
So, DM, quick question.
Yes.
We were given a scroll with seal on it and everything to take to the ship.
Yep.
Who did he hand that to?
Well, you.
Okay. All right, so I've got that and the chest. How heavy is that chest full of gold?
It's fairly a good 50, 60 pounds. It's got
You
some
can
weight
put it
to
in my pack.
So
You can put it in my pack. It's got enough room.
it's fine. I can handle it.
We
I mean no
having the-
disrespect, Nathan, but you are weak.
Oh, you know about my pack. Come on. It can carry just about anything.
What do we want to do with the money while we're walking down towards the brambles?
we're going
We
to
get
need
to
to
split
keep
it amongst us, or just keep it in one lump sum?
I think making sure that we don't spend it on frivolous things is going to be important.
I think it'd be better to split some of it among us at least. Otherwise, if it gets stolen, we lose everything.
Yeah, traveling funds.
So split it equally and then we all contribute, or keep a certain amount of it centrally? I'm fine with either.
Perhaps half and half. Personal allowance and company amount.
Fine.
Yeah.
Then let's go deal with this down in Rambles. I'll hold on to it for the moment, and then once that's done, we shall split it up.
Yeah, we should do it back at the fort, though.
Yeah, exactly. Not on the street. Counting
Yes,
out
let's
large
just-
sums of gold on the street, not a wise move.
What could go wrong?
What could ever go wrong?
Exactly.
could ever go wrong? All right. So you're
I
going to
feel
make
like-
your way? Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, how good are the streets on the way down there? Are they reasonably good roads?
Yeah, oh yeah, they're reasonably good until you get to a certain point. I mean, you can, as you get closer to the rambles, you can actually, like, the road begins to deteriorate. It's not as well upkept and that sort of thing. You can start to see where normally where the cobbles will actually continue into alleys and stuff like that, and there's manhole covers and all that. Eventually, that gives way to a lot of the alleys being broken down, mostly dirt, that sort of thing, till eventually the alleys begin to become dirt themselves.
So Uthal's okay to ride his horse down that way?
Yeah.
Okay. Reach down and grab Ostrom by one arm and haul him up onto the front. You slow us down otherwise. Let's go.
You begin to make your way down through the various districts and stuff, getting down towards the rambles themselves. It takes you probably another 2 hours to locate this figure, this Mama Gisela, this grandmama, as the great Lord Shivago said. It takes you about 2 hours of asking questions and that sort of thing to figure out where she is at. And you eventually arrive as the sun has set, evening has come upon, and off in the east you can see the flickering lights of that very slowly approaching storm. There's no wind or anything else at this point in time. What's in front of you is this little one hut shanty of pieced together boards, bits of cloth, bits of tarred paper, it looks like, or leather. You can see a small table setting out in front of it off to one side of the door with an awning. You can see where there are piles of wrapped sausages, and other items and things like that from the day's wares or the day's selling, and they smell quite good. And you see a closed door, and this is the building that everybody here has been describing to you or for you.
I'll go ahead and give it a knock.
Okay, as you rap lightly on the door, excuse me, just a moment, just a moment. And you hear this kind of thunk sound with each step. And you can picture somebody limping with a cane. And the door, you hear a simple flicked latch, like as if there's a need for any kind of, like, who would want to take what little there probably is here. The door pulls open, and maybe standing 4 feet tall, hunched over a frail frame in a simple smock dress with an apron that's just barely been untied, grease stained. The smell that emits from this small little hovel, this small little hut, is intoxicating. The sausage smell, the spices, the herbs in the air make your bellies definitely rumble because you have not eaten yet. You were expecting maybe a meal at Lord Chevalgo's, but that obviously was not the case. Her great gray mound of hair pulled up into this bun and wrapped with a piece of yellow cloth that when it was done was probably quite beautiful. Now it's stained with sweat and oils and greases. Her flickering deep set brown, almost hazelish eyes, they're that kind of almost coppery greenish color, but they're very, very dark with age. Wrinkles upon her face. Yes, who comes calling at this hour? And you see her eyes grow huge as she kind of dances from one to the other. Her eyes never landing on your faces, but they land at every single point where there's something that denotes that you are the company of Solemn. And this rickety, frail old woman, easily 100 years, steps back and you can hear bones creak. Her hip shifts just enough to one side to make it able for her to do this. Probably got kicked by a horse when she was younger. She bows deeply. I am not worthy, my lords. Do my eyes deceive me? Are you really the company of Solemn?
That we are.
And
Lord
you
Chevalgo
hear-
sent us to assist you.
Oh, that Lord, he's a dirty one. The company now sides with Lord Chevalgo? Tell me it's not so. And she's still maintaining the bow as she's done like this. Her legs kind of trembling.
There's no need to bow. And it's not so much sides with us, made a business transaction with.
And you hear this sniffle of a sick child inside the hut. I cannot believe the greatest company to stride upon the Dragon Isles has come to assist Grandmama. Go, my manners. And she stumbles back and she almost kind of topples over, her shoulder banging into the wall. And you can see inside there are two simple beds, a couple of stools, a bench, and the majority of this hut inside is taken over by this great iron black stove that has things bubbling on it. You can see hanging from the ceiling all of these various sausages and cured meats. You can see these ceramic ramekins that are lidded, that are filled, and you can see like the brown crusting of bread over them, and they're filled almost like a pot pie type thing. There's shelves that lie in those. Obviously she's in the process of preparing tomorrow's wares for sale. Please come in. And and again, every movement this old lady makes it's almost one that's going to send her falling over. And of the two cots, you can see a small mound huddled underneath way too old holy woolen blankets. And you can see a little lock of orange flame red hair resting across it, and this sniffle come through. I cannot believe. And this old lady's eyes fill with welled up tears, and waterfalls begin to fall down as she beckons you to come into the room. Please, my lords, I cannot.
Uthel dismounts and gently places Austrian's feet on the floor. How high is the room? As in, like, what kind of height's the ceiling?
Maybe 6 feet.
Okay, right. So being like 7'8". All right. There's a child inside that is maybe not well.
Yes, and she's looking now. She's kind of looking at your faces. It is so handsome. I cannot believe. Yes, my little Minda. She's come down with something. I've taken her to the doctors and to the barbers and the surgeons, and nobody. I do not have the money. Nobody can see what's wrong.
I will take a look if that's okay.
I'll go ahead and hold the chest.
Uthal, in order for you to make your way into the room, you're going to have to stoop, kind of turn yourself sideways, and kind of like do one of these things to kind of get your way in.
No. So we're not even trying because, it's just going to trash the place.
Yeah.
Just take one look and go, could one of you bring her here? If I walk in there,
Ostrin's
things
going
are
to
going
walk
to
in.
break.
All right. Ostrin walks in.
Considering I'm smaller than Grandmama, she's 4 feet. I'm 3'3".
Yeah, and Ostrin, as you go inside this small little shanty, you look around. If Uthal was to come in here and sneeze or breathe deeply, he would probably cause the shanty to fall apart. As you make your way over, I'm presuming, to the bed with this little tiny figure that's sniffling and coughing and that sort of thing. Her locks of red hair flowing out over this worn, tattered woolen blankets. You see along her face, you can see a little bit of her face that is exposed. You see that pale, very, very pale skin, but you see fingers of black fingering up in kind of lines going up her face.
Okay, so does she look like she's contagious?
Roll a medicine.
Oh, I'm proficient in this. I may actually be... okay, 18 total.
She doesn't look to be contagious. This is a completely unfamiliar thing that afflicts her. You can't put your finger on it. It doesn't look like anything you've ever seen before, but she doesn't appear to be contagious whatsoever. She sniffles and sneezes, a little cough, and it's not a cough that comes from congestion. It's a very, very hoarse and dry cough emanating from this little child. Looking at her, she looks to maybe be 4 years old, tops, not a day older than that. Her frame is frail from what you can see. Are you going to pick her up or turn her over to get a better look, or?
Yeah, I would like to further inspect her to see if there's anything I can do to assist and potentially heal her.
As you roll her over, you see these hazel green eyes, and your heart sinks into your stomach. Because a child, you can see that her features would normally be quite pretty for a young child. Her eyes should be a sparkle with the wonderment of the world, but her skin is drawn in, not tight over the skeletal features, but almost fallen, like it's just sunk in. Her skin kind of hangs loose around it. You can see these black lines trailing up out of her little skiff of a night dress. But the thing that causes your heart to sink down into your stomach is, instead of these glittering youthful eyes, you see inky fingers, almost like wisps of smoke, muting and dancing inside her eyes. As her eyes open up and look at her, you can see that she does not recognize a thing. Uthal, in your head, you hear your horse. Danger comes. Danger. Danger. And that is where we'll leave off for this week.
Oh.
Thank you all for spending 3 hours with us, with the company of Solemn, watching A Walk Beyond. I super appreciate it. I would love to say thank you, and will say thank you to these 5 wonderful human beings that are the players in this campaign. Let's go around the horn. We're going to start with subs. Go ahead and any closing words or anything.
I am Subsys Cyber again. Thank you very much for watching. It's been a really good pleasure being DM'd by this guy. He's one of the best that I've seen, so I'm happy to be here.
All right. Source.
Thank you. Yes, it's been a pleasure again to be back. I want to give a shout out to my Holy Crusaders from my guild in Neverwinter who are on. But otherwise, yeah, Ostrin is worried, but did not cause all of the weather problems. I swear, I promise. Nothing from me at all.
All right, Firehawk.
I'm having a blast, so thank you for running this campaign for us. And I do not trust that Larathan guy.
Storm Knight.
I know speak common. No, wait, that's not me. Yeah, it's been a blast. Thank you very much. I'm really looking forward to the next session and something D&D Beyond advert.
And Villain Theory.
Yeah, thanks everyone. Thanks, Charles, and thanks to the viewers. No, it's been good. Cheers.
All right, and just to close this out tonight, ladies and gentlemen, if you're not familiar with my style, you're kind of getting a taste of it. It is very much a narrative-heavy style. I appreciate you guys for coming and hanging out with us this afternoon. One final little bit here. Yes, there is no long road tonight, so we do not get to find out if love is still in the air with that campaign, but you can tune in next Saturday at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, and I will guarantee you we'll finally get a chance to see what transpires with the love between the gnome, Regina, and the halfling, Belton. Tune in tomorrow if you can at 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time for Adventure Weekly. We're adding 2 brand new players to that campaign. That's the campaign that is going to go epic if epic is ever going to happen on this channel, along with this one. I would like to again say thank you to the wonderful dndbeyond.com for such a magnificent rule set, a magnificent set of wonderful moderators, and for giving me the tools to run games exactly like this. So this game, so everybody knows, is going to be a little sporadic. It's kind of as we can get schedules to line up. I'm going to spend a few moments, hopefully after this one, getting some information, and we'll see if we can't come up with another date that'll work. And as soon as we know what that date is, we will announce it out to the world so you guys can come in and see what's going on. And yes, next time you tune in, I can almost, possibly, kind of, sort of, maybe guarantee that there could possibly be some combat, but I'm not sure, so I'm not going to guarantee that. But there will be more fun role-playing and all that. Tune in. The schedule's down below. When we go offline, there's another schedule that you'll see up here. Yes, tune in next week, Wednesday at 9 p.m. Eastern, for the first episode of The Adventures with Bubbles. This is going to literally be a 14-session bi-weekly campaign where we get to follow the notorious, infamous, murderous Bubbles on her redemption song. Tune in for that one, because in the 38 years that I've been running games, I think that might be some of my best stuff. That is going to be off the hook. So again, we are Forge at the Table. If you want to play some games with us, we have several DMs coming on board, as well as myself running some more stuff. All you have to do is drop a follow here on our channel, get involved on our Discord, which information will be showing up there in the chat for you. I would like to take a second to Amon Doctor for the follow, Roller 300 for the follow, Heartless for the follow. I think I already did those ones. Cringer for that host of 20 viewers, and Chachko for the follow. Super appreciate it. Welcome everybody to our unique and, yes, sometimes dysfunctional family. I think that is it. We will figure out where this campaign's going. This has probably been the most setup I've done on something, so we're about ready to let this thing roll and get crazy. Thank you everybody for watching, and hey, let's play some games. Peace.